Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? We're tackling AI today.
Always a hot topic.
Yeah, and to guide us, we've got Ariadne Badcrumble's recent talk. She was speaking to, I think it was the ACCU York Tech Group.
That's the one. And it's not just for techies, even though she was talking to a tech group.
Right, she always goes for the big picture. So, no need for you all to suffer through a tech conference to get the good stuff. We've distilled it down for you.
And believe me, there's some seriously good stuff in here.
Yeah.
Ariadne always has a way of cutting through the noise and making you think, wait, really? It's doing that now.
No kidding. Like right off the bat, she talks about the pace of AI development and how it's not just fast. It's like,
It's exponential, right?
yeah,
Like we're all on this moving walkway that just keeps speeding up.
perfectly said. And to illustrate this, she brings up DALL-E, which honestly feels almost old school now.
Remember all the fuss about those extra fingers?
Oh, yeah. The wonky hands definitely had their moment in the meme spotlight.
Exactly. But that was just a year ago, and now we've got Sora creating photorealistic videos. It's mind-blowing how quickly things are progressing.
Makes you wonder what's next month going to look like, let alone next year. But Ariadne's not all about the theoretical. She gets into the weeds of what it's actually like to work with AI.
And it's not always pretty. She tells this hilarious story about trying to get AI to write a Python script for Blender, the 3D modeling software.
Oh, wow. That's getting pretty technical.
Right. But the AI, it writes this perfect script, no problem. But then it gets hung up on something that seems incredibly basic to us, filling the space between vertices in the model.
So it's like brilliant, but missing a little common sense.
Exactly. It's this weird disconnect. Like imagine a master chef who can create this elaborate dish, but forgets to put anything between the slices of bread when making a sandwich.
We've all been there.
Right. And that's Ariadne's point. For all its power, AI has its limitations. We can't just expect it to magically solve everything.
Like the saying goes, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Exactly. And she talks about this idea of a complexity threshold.
Mm.
Like, for any given problem, there's a point where AI might hit a wall, you
Mm.
know? It can't quite grasp the nuances or deal with unexpected stuff.
So it's about choosing the right tool for the job, even if that means stepping back from the shiny new AI toy.
Exactly. Knowing when to use AI, and more importantly, when not to use it, is going to become a crucial skill.
Absolutely. But speaking of AI's limitations, she also brings up this idea of mode collapse, which honestly sounds a little ominous.
Yeah, it does have a bit of a dystopian ring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's this idea that as AI generates more and more stuff, and we use that AI-generated content to train other AIs, we could end up in this loop of decreasing quality and originality.
So instead of expanding possibilities, it's like we're trapping ourselves in an AI echo chamber.
Right, exactly. But Ariadne pushes back against this idea of inevitable creative stagnation. She compares it to how humans learn.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about it. We learn from each other, from books, from art, from all sorts of different sources, right?
Hmm.
And it's that exposure to diverse ideas and perspectives that lets us be creative, to build on what came before.
So it's not just about copying, it's about taking inspiration and running with it.
Exactly. And for AI, that means making sure it's trained on a diverse range of data,
Mm-hmm.
constantly exposed to new information, challenged to think in new ways. It's about creating a dynamic learning environment where AI can actually evolve, just like we do.
So it's like we need to make sure AI has a balanced diet of information,
Right.
right? Not just the same old digital scraps.
Exactly. We need to feed those algorithms some good stuff if we want them to create good stuff.
And speaking of creating stuff, Ariadne goes on to talk about AI's creative potential, and this is where things get really wild.
Oh, do tell.
Well, she brings up this AI called, I think it was GameGen.
Engine, okay.
Yeah. And this AI can actually recreate entire games.
Wait, recreate, you mean like from scratch? From scratch? Yeah. Not by copying the code or anything like that. It's more like it learns the game by playing it
Yep.
somehow, runs simulations in its AI brain, and then spits out a whole new version based on what it's learned.
Hold on, that's insane. What kind of games are we talking here? Like Tetris, Pac-Man,
Think a little more intense. One of the examples Ariadne gives is Doom,
Doom, the classic shooter game.
the one and only. This AI, it learned to play Doom, and I'm not saying it was like a master game or anything, but it was good enough. Good enough to recreate the game. And there wasn't some pixelated knockoff. This thing was eerily accurate.
Okay, now you've got my attention. How accurate are we talking?
Accurate enough that in tests, people could only tell the difference between the AI's version and the original Doom 60% of the time. So
Okay.
basically 40% of the time, people had no clue they weren't playing the actual game designed by, human developers.
That's both amazing and slightly terrifying.
Mm.
I mean, if AI can recreate Doom, what's next? Could it start designing entirely original games? New worlds, new rules, the whole nine yards?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it
Yep.
really makes you think about what creativity actually is. Is AI truly creating if it's drawing on all this existing data? Or is it just really, really good at mimicking?
Right, because if AI can actually create, that changes everything. It's no longer just a tool, it's like a creative partner.
Exactly. And speaking of partnerships, Ariadne also talks about how the way we work with AI is changing. She says it's becoming less about traditional programming, writing lines of code, and more about understanding how AI thinks.
Okay, this is where I need you to walk me through it. How do you even begin to understand how something that's not human thinks?
It's a great question and a real challenge for sure. Ariadne uses this analogy of AI's output being like its inner monologue. Like we're getting these glimpses into the raw, unfiltered thoughts of a digital mind before it's all polished up for human consumption.
So instead of just seeing the final product, the perfect essay, or the stunning image, we're starting to see the messy, behind-the-scenes thought process.
Exactly. It's like we're shifting from being programmers to becoming AI psychologists,
Mhm.
trying to understand the motivations, the biases, the blind spots of these artificial minds. We have to learn their language, so to speak.
It's like we're learning to communicate with a whole new species, except this one lives inside our computers.
Right. And just like with any new form of communication, there are bound to be misunderstandings, misinterpretations, moments where we just scratch our heads and say, what in the world just happened?
Totally. So with all this talk about AI and work, what about the elephant in the room, the whole robots are going to take our jobs thing? Does Ariadne address that at all?
Oh, absolutely. And she's very upfront about it. She acknowledges that AI is going to significantly change the job market. No question. Some jobs will become automated. Others will vanish entirely.
Which is a scary thought for a lot of people, especially those who might find their skills becoming, well, obsolete. But does she offer any solutions? Any reason to be hopeful?
She does. She suggests that this shift, while definitely disruptive, could also be a huge opportunity. What if, instead of fearing job displacement, we embrace the idea of a future where humans work less?
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
Right. AI could free us from all the tedious, repetitive tasks, giving us more time and energy to focus on things that are more creative, fulfilling, maybe even more fundamentally human.
It's a radical idea, but it's gaining traction. This idea that AI could usher in a new era of abundance where our basic needs are met and we're free to pursue our passions.
Exactly. And this ties into another concept Ariadne discusses, universal basic income, or UBI.
Right, the idea of giving everyone a guaranteed income, regardless of whether they have a traditional job. It's a concept that often comes up in these discussions about AI and automation. Does Ariadne see it as a potential solution to the potential mass unemployment that AI could cause?
She does. She argues that a system like UBI could act as a safety net, making sure people's basic needs are met, especially during this time of massive change in the job market.
It's definitely a fascinating idea, but of course, like with anything, there are logistical challenges. And maybe even bigger, there are philosophical questions.
For sure.
It's not just about the mechanics of implementing UBI, it's about what it says about us as a society, how we define work, and ultimately what we value in life.
It really makes you question, like, what does it even mean to have a job in the age of AI?
Right. It's a total mind shift. And speaking of mind shifts, you mentioned that Ariadne also gets into the whole AI and truth issue.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. And it kind of sneaks up on you. She starts by asking,
Okay.
how do we even know what's real anymore?
It's like, how can you tell what's real and what's not when AI can create stuff that looks and sounds so real?
Exactly. Especially with those deep fake videos. You see one of those, it's like, whoa, can I trust anything I see online?
It makes you question everything.
For sure. And that's where Ariadne brings up her reality tethering idea,
Hmm.
which she sees as crucial in this, like, age of AI generated everything.
Right, reality tethering. That's about creating a system where any piece of information can be traced back to its source, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like a digital trail of breadcrumbs leading back to the truth, or at least to the origin of the information.
Yeah.
So you can see, like, is this based on actual facts, or is it just some AI hallucinating?
It's like having a built-in BS detector for the internet, which, let's be honest, we could all use these days.
No kidding. And Ariadne's point is that this isn't just about, like, winning arguments online. It's about preserving our shared reality.
Because if we can't agree on what's real, how can we even have a conversation, let alone make important decisions as a society?
Exactly. It's fundamental. And this actually leads to what I think is one of the most profound things Ariadne talks about, that AI isn't just changing the world out there, it's changing how we understand ourselves.
Okay, now you've piqued my interest. Tell me more about that.
Well, she argues that working with AI forces us to confront the limits of our own understanding of, well, intelligence. Like, we always defined intelligence based on, human capabilities.
Yeah.
But AI doesn't fit neatly into that box. It processes information differently, it learns differently, it even makes mistakes differently.
It's like AI is showing us that there are other ways of being intelligent, other ways of thinking that we might not even have imagined before.
Exactly. And as we try to wrap our heads around how AI thinks, we're forced to re-examine our own assumptions about what it means to be human.
It's humbling in a way, like maybe we're not the be-all and end-all of intelligence after all.
Right. And with that realization comes a huge responsibility. As we build these increasingly complex AI systems, we have to be aware of the ethical implications.
Absolutely. We have to make sure that AI is used for good, that it benefits everyone, not just a select few.
For sure. And that's something Ariadne emphasizes. This isn't just a conversation for the techies.
Right. We all need to be a part of shaping the future of AI.
Exactly. And that's what makes her talk so powerful. She doesn't just talk about the future of AI. She challenges us to be active participants in creating that future.
It's a call to action. Stay informed, engage in the conversation, and make sure the future of AI is one we actually want to live in.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And speaking of calls to action, Ariadne wouldn't let us go without a little something to ponder.
Oh, I know what you're going to say. That reality tethering thing.
Yeah.
She throws out this really intriguing idea.
What if, and I love this, what if we applied that idea of reality tethering not just to AI, but to ourselves?
Oh, yeah.
Imagine a world where every claim, every opinion could be instantly traced back to its source. We could see the evidence, the reasoning, the biases, all of it right there.
It would definitely change how we consume information, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
No more taking things at face value.
Exactly. And in a world where misinformation spreads faster than ever, that kind of critical thinking, that commitment to seeking truth is more important than ever.
For sure. Well said.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of AI with Ariadne Badcrumble as our guide, let's all make a commitment to keep those minds open, keep asking questions, and maybe, just maybe, try a little reality tethering of our own.
I'm in.
Until next time, happy diving, everyone.